Am I the a-hole for telling my husband his daughter is embarrassing me? Yesterday I, 30F, was chilling at home with my father-in-law, talking and drinking coffee. When my husband, 37M, arrived, he asked me if I would take his daughter, 12F, shopping for a dress. A little bit of context. When he was younger, my husband had a relationship with a woman, let's call her Sarah, and they had married their daughter. He was having his rebel phase, going against his parents with this relationship, but it did not last. He realized they were way too different as individuals and broke up when Mary was 3. I met my husband 6 years ago, and we got married 4 years ago. Our relationship is amazing and I get along extremely well with my in-laws. I was immediately accepted into the family and my father-in-law treats and introduces me to people as her daughter. As you can imagine, this has caused a lot of drama with Sarah because she never received the same treatment from the family, but truthfully speaking, she is not someone you wish to have in your social circle. Mary and I get along well. Everyone is on the same page that she has a mother and that I am not trying to replace her. I am just her father's wife. However, she spends most of her time with her mom, and Sarah is teaching her extreme hippie BS like she should not abide by the expectations society has on women. She should not feel pressure to act, look, or behave as what society considers acceptable and so on. Mary therefore is allowed by her mom to not shower for days in a row, wear dirty clothes, and not brush her teeth or hair. This has become her way of living because she refuses to shower or dress properly all the time. It pains me to say, but she could pass as a homeless child if you see her on the street due to her appearance. Back to yesterday, 1 month from now the entire family will attend a gala where my husband will receive an award. It's an important moment in his career, and he asked me if I would go with his daughter to buy a dress for the event. I told him honestly that I prefer not to. I explained that I really felt embarrassed being seen with Mary in public. She dresses horribly, and most of the time her clothes are dirty. She stinks and does not brush her hair. My father-in-law agreed and mentioned to my husband that it would be best if Mary did not attend this event because she would make us look bad in front of all the people who would be present. I was on my father-in-law's side. The husband was sad, but he also agreed with us and mentioned he would think about it. Am I the a-hole? Update. I wrote yesterday the initial post, and it blew out of proportion. The number of comments was really overwhelming, but I sincerely thank you for your help and all the useful comments and DMs you sent me. I will clarify some of the most commonly asked questions. First of all, I apologize if I offended people by mentioning the hippie feminist part. I do not think that all feminists have poor hygiene, and I admit it was bad wording on my part. Being a feminist is what Mary's mother uses to describe herself and justify her parenting style. No, Mary is not mixed race and she and her mother are not a different ethnicity. Some people found that showering for 2 to 3 days is not a problem. Mary spends every 2 weekends with my husband in our house, and so during his time, he picks her up on Friday and drops her off on Sunday. I noticed that during her time with us, those 2 to 3 days she refuses to shower, but I have no idea what she is doing when she is with her mother. For those saying it is not that bad and I am overreacting, I am actually not. 2 to 3 days going without a shower may not be a problem when you are an adult that spends the day working in an office and moving around in a car with AC, but for a 12-year-old who has a lot of activities, hormonal changes, and does not wear deodorant, trust me, it is bad. As 12 years old, Mary is not to blame for lack of hygiene. I agree that her parents are to blame, and I understand that my husband needs to step up or decide what he wants to do. Many people asked why I don't take Mary with me for a girl's day, spa, or mani-pedi. Her mother does not agree with it. She expressed multiple times that, in her opinion, the women in our family promote unhealthy women's standards, and she forbids her daughter ever engaging in such activities. What was my stance and input in helping Mary? As most of you probably realized, I don't have many options at hand. I have bought her a lot of natural, organic, vegan, and cruelty-free products. I have read and explained each label to her, but she does not want to use them. I don't think Mary is being abused or neglected by her mother in a traditional way that CPS could be involved. She is not neglected. She is just given too much power to decide as a 12Y over her hygiene. Why I am so concerned for my image and reputation? Because this is how I was raised, and I refuse to have my reputation damaged in our social circle due to a kid that it's not even mine and due to the lack of involvement from her parents. My father-in-law is not influencing me at all. We just share the same opinions, values, and concerns. That being said, today I will sit my husband down and have a conversation with him. I will clearly inform him what my stance on this entire situation is and what I expect to happen. The rest it is up to him to decide. Update. Am I the a-hole for snapping at my parents for treating me more like a second mom than their daughter? Thanks to everyone who commented and offered support. It really meant a lot. I wanted to give an update on what's happened since. 2 days ago my dad called and said he was going to visit, but then changed his mind and asked if we could meet somewhere instead. When I showed up, my mom was with him. Not sure why he didn't mention that. My dad actually tried to listen and understand me, but my mom didn't really let me get my point across. It was so hard to explain how I've been feeling recently and how it's been like this for years. I was only 9 when my first sibling was born. He's 14 now. And I honestly can't remember if I've been able to act like their daughter since then. Every time I tried to explain how draining this has been, my mom would jump in with, "It was just a brownie. I mean, for God's sake, it's not about the dessert." Eventually, I just excused myself and went home. After that conversation, I think I've made up my mind to go low contact with my mom. It's going to be incredibly hard, more than I can even explain. I've always said yes and put my family first, but with my own little family on the way. I don't want to bring these problems into everything. My fiancé has been really supportive and said he's with me no matter what I decide. To answer some of the comments, my fiancé and I don't live with my parents. We have our own apartment and are working on building our first house. As for how I'm pregnant with my fiancé, the pregnancy wasn't planned, but we decided to go through with it, and we're hoping to be the best parents we can be. Next story. Am I the a-hole for relocating without telling my parents and siblings and refusing to give my brother a house down payment? I, 33F, am relocating out of my home state in 2 weeks. I had no contact with my parents and siblings nearly 4 years ago, shortly after I purchased my current home. My parents are very blue-collar and grew up with only brothers. My brother is the only boy, the baby, autistic, and named his only son after my brother who passed away. He gets everything. My sister is very masculine, blue-collar, and lesbian. I'm white-collar, educated, and very girly. My entire life, I've always been the outsider, and they made sure I knew that, harshly. It was worse whenever I succeeded in life. No contact with them was the best thing I could have ever done for my mental health, and I'll never go back unless they're all in intensive therapy. Fast forward to this week. They found out I'm relocating out of state and selling my home. Naturally, the horrific texts have rolled through and are extra special. They know what I bought it for, and with a simple search, they will know what I'm selling for. They're hurt, I didn't tell them, and want the money they gifted me to get my home to give my brother. I refuse to give them any access to my life. They gifted my sister her down payment and me, but were unable to for my brother. Of course, they think I'm an a-hole and a few more nice choice words. My cousin and uncle say I should give the money because it's only 1/3 of my proceeds. I refuse. They gave me my savings account that I had been building for years. But I'm second-guessing my decision to not tell them where I'm going or give them the money back. I'm still their daughter, and they want to know my whereabouts. My brother has a 3-year-old son and a 1-year-old daughter. It's expensive where we are, and I want the kids to have stability. So, am I the a-hole? Edit 2 Answer common questions. I am no contact. I do not initiate or engage with them at all. I don't have them blocked due to they will text me about important family updates like my uncle died or was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I have 11. Also for evidence if needed for an injunction of harassment or something else, which has been the case in 2021. They found out through a family member who has early Alzheimer's. I will not make any contact or scold someone with a horrible disease over this. The savings account was a conservator account from when my brother and I got a settlement as babies. We both needed to be 18 and a court order to withdraw but could add. I took advantage of it by adding birthday and chore money. My mom managed to get the court order for both when my brother turned 18. I was 19 and the bank gave her the funds. She gave it to my brother. I've no idea why she did and can only guess. Next story. I the a-hole for calling therapy a waste of time and saying we should stop going because it's not going to help us? Me, 16F, my twin brother, 16M, my mom and my mom's husband are in family therapy together. The therapist isn't bad. I talked to her alone twice before we did sessions with all of us in one room. But the reason we're in therapy and the way my mom especially is behaving, I just know it's a waste of time. My mom and her husband want me and my brother to change our last name to her husband's name and her name now. They are also hoping we'll let him adopt us. But the core focus is our name. They asked us 3 years ago when they first got married, and they tried to use guilt and bribery to make it happen. Guilt was mom saying we weren't really happy for her, and if we were, we'd accept having the same family name and let her move on from dad after being his widow for 7 years. Bribery was that her husband would pay for college, weddings, and a down payment on a house when we were 25 on top of getting a new car each instead of an old car. Now the focus is on the fact my mom and him have a kid together and mom is pregnant again. She said we should want the same name as our half-siblings, we should want to be more easily identified as a family, and we should want to confuse our younger siblings way less. This has been the thing they have focused on in therapy, and they refuse to answer questions the therapist asks them. They talk over her. My brother and I were asked to leave the room 7 times in 2.5 months of appointments because the therapist needed to speak to the adults alone. The second last time we went, she started saying therapy with her should end because they won't listen to her and do not want her to lead the sessions, but my mom and her husband were quick to backtrack and apologize. But they brought the same stuff up last time. And last time, I said therapy is a waste of time and we should stop going because it's not going to help us. I told the therapist I would not change my mind. I do not want to change my name. I do not want the family name. I do not consider my mom's husband my father or even an important person in my life. I said I think my mom has changed a lot since she got married and I don't feel like she's as good of a mom as she used to be. I said I would never accept having another man's name and that he's no different than any other random dude off the street. I said having younger half-siblings changes nothing for me because we will never have the same dad and we will always be a part of different families. I told them I would not work on making that a goal or try to compromise. So no adding his name to mine, etc. And I said the adults won't stop repeating themselves and talking over her, therapist. So I'm tired of us all wasting our time. My mom was so mad at me after therapy because her husband looked offended that I had said all that about him. But she was also mad that I thought I could end therapy when I was just a kid. Am I the a-hole?